anger surrounding the Protect the Powwow Senate hearing and the resolution and whatnot isn't a one-time occurrence. Then having the ASUO as an organization plan a concert on the same day as our powwow with a budget that is exponentially bigger than what our budget is equated to spitting in our face. Within the educational system, I was taught that it was shameful to be Indigenous, that being Indigenous wasn't something that was cool, wasn't something that was okay, and it was something that you had to erase. So taking into account Eurocentric education and American education really being built up as a construct meant to destroy Indigenous identities, especially of young children, and therefore not having any spaces for Indigenous identities to thrive. The Mother's Day powwow, not only does it, of course, honor our matriarchs and honor our life givers, but also it provides a space for Indigenous peoples, for Indigenous youth to envision a reality in which they can thrive.
In the fall, when Senate funded Powwow, there were questions asked about conflicts, and we were ensured that all other conflicting events had been pushed out for that weekend and that we didn't need to worry about that again. And then, of course, that didn't happen. A lot of the barriers to canceling the concert, beyond just initially ASUO saying we don't want to do it anymore, was we were contracted to a larger organization that would have blacklisted all of UO and other student organizations from putting on big events. A lot of those organizations are organizations that, although funded by ASUO, are completely not connected to the situation and didn't deserve to face the repercussions for ASUO actions.
The general timeline of things was Nasu made that post kind of the Wednesday before the Big Battle of the Bands show. We had the show, and then there was going to be a week of online voting, and girl bands dropped out right before that started. So they're the first ones to do it. And then we dropped out right after the ASUO Senate hearing. But I don't think we felt any pressure to drop out or not. It was just kind of a question of, do we want to take part in this event? That is obviously a problem. We weren't really clued in onto what ASUO was doing. When we went to the Senate meeting and heard the testimonies from all the NASU members and community members, it was pretty clear to us what we should do.
At this point, it wasn't accidental, it was deliberate, and it had racial implications. Because when you knowingly put the concert on the same day as a Mother's Day powwow, that shows you just who you want here at this concert, and it's not Native students. And so Monique Samuels, another co-director, I think it was her, that after my initial message, she said, what if we just walked into a Senate meeting one time?
What played out in the room that night, in that open public meeting, was both an example of ongoing structural racism and institutional racism and settler colonialism, but also intra-community solidarity and decolonial resistance. Not to say that anybody on the ASUO board intended to offend or intended to cause harm, but that's how institutional racism works. Because you don't see Native people, you're not plugged into Native communities, you don't understand the significance of the powwow, then you don't understand what it would mean to either have funding cut or schedule other major events over it that could potentially draw away from the powwow. What I wanted the ASUO to hear was that the powwow is like this incredibly important, long-standing event that's been going on for over 56 years. It's an Oregon heritage event, which there's only 21 of those in the entire state. Only one of them is associated with the university, and it's our powwow. So it shouldn't only just be something that you don't overschedule because you don't want to cause harm to the Native community, but the ASUO and the larger student body and the institution as a whole should actively embrace the powwow and turn out and support it and be in community.
I honestly think that this year's concert was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, so to say. And it was just the one thing that made us want to fight, and it made us realize how much our community means to us, how much this means to our community.
I think powwows are just generally, they're intertribal things, events, and so it's a way for like folks from a bunch of different tribes to get together. It's a decolonizing weekend in the fact that we're here, we're present, we're visible, we're vocal. You can hear us in our songs coming out of Matt Court, So for a place that's predominantly white institution where Indigenous presence and Indigenous history is often silenced or erased, it's one of the signature kind of opportunities of the year for Indigenous people to kind of be loud and proud on campus and be, I always kind of say for at least one day out of the year that the University of Oregon is Indian country again.